Well, what's the inverse of negative 7? It's going to be 12 minus 7 is 5. So if I went 7 back, we could take that back from the C. So let's go C, and I'm going to go back 7. Do I have enough room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 takes me back to here. Okay, so that's going to be the negative 7 distance. So what will I call that? Normally, we would call it a 12 minus 7 or 5 note away, which I know is a perfect fourth. So it would be 1 or 5 down here, 6, 7 would be going this way, which would be called a perfect fourth. Wait, is that right? Yeah. But now I'm going backwards. So if I'm going backwards, I would say the 5 note away perfect fourth could either be a 5 note away perfect fourth or a negative 5 note away perfect fourth. Now you would think it would be if that's the 1, first scale degree, 2, 3, 4, 5, the negative 5th scale degree. But we don't use negative 5th scale degree, so I'm going to keep it with the perfect fourth, giving me the flavor, but then just memorize that it could be a negative distance, right? I could be going in the negative direction. All right, so then let's do the next one. We're going to say this is going to be if I go 8 back, let's go 8 back. What would I call 8 going back? I'd have to say, well, 12 minus 8 would be 4 forward, right? So I'd first think about this one, most likely. It would be a 4 note away major third. And then I'd have to think, okay, the major third means I could go back 8 as well, which would be a negative 8 major third. So if I went 8 back, let's do this. We'll take this and say, let's get rid of this here, and let's say I'm going 8 back. So if I was on this C, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which would get me to here. Now, so normally we would say 8 back could be 4 forward, which would be 5 forward here and then back, or 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. So I could go 4 forward, or I could go 8 backwards. So you would think it would be, if that was the 1, it would be 1, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 6th scale degree. But we don't usually do that. We usually say it's going to be going forward. So I would just still call it a major third, but say it's a negative 8 note away major third. Now, it would be better if I called it something like an IP modal range, a 1-3 modal range, because then I can see it either way. Either an IP modal range means I can go counterclockwise, negative 8 from the Ionian node, which would be a negative 5th modal half step, which would be a negative 6th scale degree if we had 6 scale degrees going backwards, and the inverse, or the opposite or clockwise direction, would be 12 minus 8, which would be a 4 note away, and 7 minus 2 would be a second modal half step going forward. So it would be a 4 note away Ionian second. This makes sense. You can easily see clockwise and counterclockwise distance-wise. Right? All right, so then we're going to say, all right, let's do the next one. Let's get rid of this, and this, and this, and say we now are going to go 9, negative 9. Let's first think about it. If I went negative 9 backwards, I would say, all right, well, 12 minus 9 is 3. So what would 3, 4? That usually be called a minor third, right? 3 note minor third. We can bring this up, 3 note and 9 minor third. Okay. So then so that means the minor third will also apply to 9 backwards. So I would call it then a 9 note away minor third. So let's do that from like an Aeolian, maybe. Let's do this Aeolian and go 9 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would bring me to this C. Now, normally, if I went 9 back, it would be equivalent to going 3 forward, right? So I can't really go forward from that A, but if I went 3 forward from this A, it would be 1, 2, 3 to get to that C, right? So I can think of it, you would think if I went backwards, it would be a scale degree. That would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would be the negative 6th scale degree. But we don't have negative scale degrees typically. So what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to say it's a -9 and a major third. So I'm just going to memorize that the major third could go negative, could go in the counterclockwise direction 9 steps as the workaround, so I can have directionality even though it's not perfect. All right, and then if I go back to the next one, if I go back 10, what am I going to call it? Well, if I went forward 12 minus 10, it would be 2 forward. We call that a 2 note away major second. Therefore, that major second could go 2 forward, or it could go also 10 backwards. So I'm going to call it then a -10 note away major, hopefully I said that, major second, right? -10 note away major second. So in other words, if I was down here on like, let's say this C, well, wait a sec, I'm going to delete that. Let me delete that. Delete that. I'm on like, I need to be out here on like this C. Could I go back 10? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, just barely. So I go back 10 from that C. Okay. But normally it would be going 2 forward. So I could go 2 forward to get to a D this way. So it would be a 2 note away major second, but I'm going back 10. So I'm also going to call -10 major second, right? You would think it would be called, this is the scale degree 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You would think it would be the -7th scale degree. But then you'd have to call it like, is it a negative major second, or it would be a -7th major second, right? You see how that gets messy because then I have to apply the major. If I use this term, it would be a modal distance of an ID, a 1-2 modal range, and I can then apply directionality. -10 from the Ionian node is the -6th scale degree, right? And which would be the -6th modal half step, which would be the -7th scale degree. By the way, I'm not putting another negative here because I'm imagining this negative follows through. And that would be easy to see the other way because 12 minus 10 is 2, and 7 minus 6 would be 1. So it would be a 2 note away Ionian first modal half step, which would be the second scale degree. So the scale degrees only work going clockwise is our problem. And then if I went, let's do this last one. If I went 11 backwards, what would I call that? Well, 12 minus 11 would be 1 going forward, which we would call a 1 note away minor second. So that means that minor second could also mean going backwards 11. So I would call it a -11 minor second. So in other words, if I started on this Aeolian, let me get rid of this. The minor second isn't in the minor scale, so we'd have to be on like the Phrygian scale or something like that.